Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Upstairs Writing 5155 and says, would I be the arsehole if I just tell everyone the truth about what is going on, even though it would ruin my husband's image? I am dyslexic and always have been bad at grammar, so excuse me please. This is non-US. Okay, so my husband has been dealing with some major issues. We have not yet figured out what it is. It has been like dealing with certain delusions. For example, it all started 6 months ago when he was convinced he caught me cheating because he found a document saying so on my laptop. When I arrived home and he tried looking for it to show me, he obviously couldn't find it. He is going to therapy, but as of right now, we are technically separated and living in different rooms. It's just because this keeps happening. A certain insecurity eats itself into my husband, and he becomes convinced that it's the truth. He either dreams proof or he just convinces himself that anything is proof. I don't know what he does with a therapist, but I honestly don't see it getting better. Last week, he was mad at our daughter 15. Because she didn't want him to drive her to prom and make pictures with her. When I went to ask her, she said that was not true. She had talked to her dad about what she would like to do when she graduates in 2 years. Her father just got really mad at the perceived sly. The problem is that he keeps talking to people about the issues. I was already wondering why so many mutuals stopped responding to me, but apparently they all think I'm an awful human being and terrible spouse. I just want to tell people what is going on. Also so they are aware that my husband is basically lying to them and for them to tell me delusions that he might be having that I don't know. But at the very beginning of his therapy, he begged me not to tell anyone because people would think he is crazy. My sister said that it would be an arsehole thing to do that would basically feed into his delusions. I just feel like I'm done. Am I the arsehole? Edit, we already did a brain scan / MRI and nothing was found. I feel very much like you're in a no-win situation here. If you give that information out, he's going to be upset with you about it. But if you don't, then you're not getting the support that you and your daughter need. And I think your child is a major priority at the moment as well. Clearly, husband needs some other kind of help. To me, and I'm just saying this from reading a very small part of your lives, a very small part of the story. You're talking about delusions here, and I don't think a therapist is going to help with that. I think it needs to be escalated further up. I don't know what level. You said you've had a brain scan, but it feels like it's something more here. And personally for me, I don't think it's an arsehole thing to do. I think you'll be worried, I think you'll be scared, and I think you need support. I think that's all there is to it. Otherwise, you're just going to be isolating yourself and your daughter in this situation, which just isn't a good idea. Arstock says to OP, is this therapist also a psychiatrist? I'm by no means an expert, but sounds like therapy isn't what he needs. And maybe the therapist actually believes what he is saying as well. I think a more aggressive approach is needed. OP says he doesn't trust me, so he doesn't tell me. I know he gets professional help because he introduced us, but as far as I know, it's a therapist, not a psychiatrist. Boo Squad says, therapist here. If he's having episodes or periods of delusions on psychosis, then a therapist alone isn't going to cut it. Another commenter says, so I'm assuming these are real, actual delusions while giving this advice. First and foremost, if he hasn't yet, he has to see a neurologist to rule out any physical issues, i.e. brain tumor. And second, can you have a therapy session with him and his therapist? Tell him what is going on with your friends and family and come up with a mutual solution. With a therapist there, they can help your husband see how this is affecting everyone. In my opinion, this is really messy and could potentially devolve into a dangerous situation. It's not fair to anyone involved. I think if they are real delusions, I would need to tell those very close to us, only ones I knew loved him and would protect him. Ideally with him by my side, while I told them. But, and a big one, I would need to speak with him and his therapist about it first. This needs a professional, delicate hand to guide it. You need help with this too. You at the very least need someone, a friend or family member you can trust to lean on. You should also have a professional to talk to and help you cope with this. Not the arsehole, just needs to be handled in an extremely delicate way. with much discernment, professional guidance, and love is humanly possible. Opie replied saying, "Obviously I'm not in the medical field, but I can't describe them as anything else. Mainly because we have not done any of the things he convinced himself of. For example, he was convinced our oldest daughter, 19, was pregnant because she said no to sushi. She was just not in the mood for raw fish. So my husband obviously became obsessed with the idea that our daughter was pregnant. He would go on full rant saying, 'How dare she? We gave her everything,' etc." One more comment which says, "Hun, I used to work in adult mental health. Your husband isn't getting the help he needs. It's escalating. And being in the same household with someone with persistent delusions is dangerous. You need to get your kids the fuck out of that house before something happens. And he needs to see a medical doctor and a psychiatrist, not a therapist. You're not the arsehole for wanting to tell the truth, and you will not be the arsehole when you do. But telling the truth while you're still sharing a home with him puts you and your kids in danger. Staying and allowing him to stay makes you an arsehole." And I was reading the comments for ages on this one, just the amount of people relating and having the same sort of situation with their husband or wife who went through something similar. It's terrifying. But around 5 months later, Opie came in with an update and said, "I thank everyone for their supportive words, especially the people that have been through something similar. Thank you so much for sharing with me. It makes me feel less alone. Also, just because I've seen that a lot of people have not been able to read my first post. I've tried everything from getting him to a real psychologist to having him committed. I've tried with his doctor, with my mother-in-law, and with my lawyer. But he has not broken the law or actually assaulted me. Just threatened to kill me and our daughter for being whores. But to the police, that does not matter because we don't matter. So please, all the suggestions you have and suggestions to get him committed, or he might have a tumor or dementia or schizophrenia, please stop. I have no fight left in me. I also have no legal ground over him. I can't care anymore, or I will drive myself insane. He still has a support net. He will never be alone, but that man is dangerous to me and my daughters, and the duty of a parent is above all else. So again, please stop suggesting what he could have or what I should do regarding him, because that job is no longer mine. First off, thank you for all your feedback and support. It took some time to process everything, and honestly, I was at my breaking point. The situation had escalated in ways I never imagined, and I've made some tough decisions. After I posted, things started to unravel quickly. About 5 months ago, when my husband's behavior first started escalating, I quietly consulted with a lawyer here. At the time, his delusions had begun to affect our daily lives, and I knew I needed legal advice. The divorce process requires a period of legal separation before the divorce can be finalized. We initiated this process, and I requested full custody of our 15-year-old daughter, given her increasing fear of her father. The court was also concerned and ordered a psychological evaluation for my husband to assess his mental fitness for parenting. A few weeks into the legal separation, my husband's paranoia worsened. He started placing Apple AirTags in my car and in our 15-year-old daughter's backpack, tracking our every move. My daughter was the one who found the AirTag in her bag and was terrified. When I confronted him, he insisted it was for our safety. But it was clear to me that his paranoia was spiraling out of control. This incident deeply affected our daughter, who began refusing to see her father. Around this time, my mother-in-law reached out to me. She was concerned because my husband had accused her of cheating on his father, something that was completely out of character for him. Father-in-law didn't believe it for a second, but was deeply worried about his state of mind. Her reaching out was a small but much needed relief. She acknowledged that his behavior was erratic and offered her support, knowing that something was seriously wrong. My older daughter, 19, had also become involved in the situation. She had been quietly documenting her father's behavior for months. She recorded 3 different occasions where my husband went on elusive rants. The first was about how I'm supposedly cheating on him with one of my co-workers, a man I barely interact with. The second was about our 15-year-old daughter was secretly dating someone older and lying to him about it. The third was about how the entire family was conspiring against him to make him look crazy. Watching these videos was heartbreaking, but they validated everything I'd been dealing with privately. Things escalated further when my husband almost attacked one of my colleagues. He'd convinced himself that this man was the affair partner I was supposedly seeing behind his back. It took all my strength to physically separate them before the situation turned violent. As the legal process continued, my lawyer informed me that due to the severity of the situation and the psychological evaluation ordered by the court, my request for full custody was strongly considered. In Spain, courts typically prioritize the well-being of the child, and given my husband's mental state and the danger he posed, it seemed likely that I would be granted full custody of our 15-year-old daughter. She had made it clear that she didn't want to see her father, and the court was taking her wishes into account. In the midst of this, my 19-year-old daughter decided to take matters into her own hands. She posted the 3 videos she had recorded of her father's breakdowns on Instagram, along with a compilation of texts, photos, and other evidence she had collected over the past few months. Her intention was to show the world what we had been enduring, but it quickly turned into a public spectacle. The backlash was intense. Some people were horrified and reached out with sympathy and support, while others criticized us for airing dirty laundry and accused my daughter of betraying her father. As the divorce process continued, my husband's mental health became a significant factor. The psychological evaluation ordered by the court revealed the depth of his delusions, particularly around cheating and female sexuality. It became clear that he was not fit to make decisions regarding our daughter's well-being. The evaluation supported my claim for full custody, and the court is now in the process of finalizing that decision. In the meantime, all communication between my husband and me is being handled through our lawyers. I'm ensuring that any interaction between him and our 15-year-old daughter is supervised. Given the severity of the situation and the damage done to our lives, I'm making plans to move away with my daughter once the legal proceedings are finalized. My reputation in our current community is shattered thanks to his delusions and the lies he has spread. Starting fresh somewhere new seems like the only way for us to heal and rebuild our lives. I never wanted it to come to this. I still care deeply for my husband, but I can't keep sacrificing our well-being for the sake of his image. The revelation that he's been lying to his therapist, or rather his unqualified life coach, was a breaking point for me. I realized I couldn't trust him to get better on his own. Thankfully, some friends have started to see through his stories and are reaching out to support us, which gives me hope. But I know it's going to be a long, difficult road ahead. For anyone in a similar situation, please know that you are not alone. This has been the hardest decision I've ever made, but sometimes you have to do what's best for your own mental health and safety, no matter how much it hurts. Thank you again for all the advice. I'm hopeful that this is the first step towards a better future, even if it's a painful one. And look, it seems like no one knows what the actual issue with this guy is, and I'm not going to speculate on that, but watching someone spiral like that has got to be absolutely heartbreaking for everyone involved. I don't blame OP and the daughters for getting out of that situation at all. Not in the slightest. Their safety is paramount here, and to me it just sounds like, it sounds horrible to say it this way, but he's too far gone to get the support he needs now. You know, it's almost like taking over in his mind, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but I think it's incredibly sad, isn't it? Imagine, I just can't imagine. Well, I can imagine, I've seen it, but watching a loved one go through that is, whilst OP is scared, but once they're out of that situation, you know, this is someone that they married, that they had children with, and that person is just fading away. But yeah, OP and daughter's safety is paramount in this situation. But just speaking on delusions, and I hope you don't mind, I'm just trying to relate to the story in some way, but you know, it popped into my head as I was reading it, and you know, with my dad with mesothelioma, and towards his last couple of months, he was getting various delusions, whether it's from the drugs or the cancer itself. I really don't know. I can remember the absolute mix of emotions you have. I remember standing by his bed one day, and he was just sort of lying in bed watching TV. You know, he was pretty much bedbound by then. And he was in the upstairs of his house, and there was like the bedroom window right next to him, and I was sitting between him and the bedroom window. We was talking about what was on TV. I can't remember what it was. Something like Antiques Roadshow or Top Gear or something like that. And suddenly, he just turned around and looked out the window. He said, "Mark, there's a plane coming towards the window." I was like, you know what? I sort of like ducked down, and I looked out the window, and obviously there wasn't a plane coming towards the window. And he sort of argued with me for a couple of seconds, and then he just sort of stared out the window, and I can remember that look and looking into his eyes, and just, I found it funny at first because of what just happened about a plane coming towards a window. Then I thought seriously about it, and then at the same time it just felt like my dad was slipping away at the same time. And that's what I was talking about, sort of like the mixed emotions. Like I chuckled to myself, and right or wrong, I don't know, it made me laugh at that particular moment. But I remember walking out my dad's door that day and absolutely floods of tears, because part of the reality hit me then at the same time as well. And they just got worse over time. I remember both me and my brother sat either side of my dad's bed, and he saw my mum at the end of his bed sitting on the bed, and he was saying, "Come sit next to me, come sit next to me." It was just like, oh man. And obviously my mum passed away the year before. But yeah, anyway, I've gone off on one again as usual. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story is from TDog945 and says, "Am I the arsehole? Suing my neighbor after she sprayed weedicide on my lawn. Caught my neighbor spraying weedicide on my lawn in my fenced-in backyard because she said she was sick of all the weeds and thought she was doing me a solid. 1. I like dandelions, and they are good for the bees. 2. I pet rabbits, dogs, cats, and a tortoise. I like to roam the yard, and all of them eat or at least nibble and lick the grass, so it's literally poisoning my pets. So anyway, I kick her the fuck out and take all my pets inside. Now 2 of my rabbits are dead, and another is in critical condition. I'll never be able to let my pets outside again to eat the grass because weedicide takes forever to go away, because it can sit in the soil for who knows how long, and I'm worried that the dogs and cats might end up having a reaction too, since they also nibble the grass. Call me overprotective or overcautious, I don't care. I love my animals. So I'm suing her for damage to my property because it's now unusable for my animals, veterinary bills, and emotional damage due to the death of my 2 rabbits. I'm also trying to get the cops to pursue a case of animal abuse or at minimum criminal damage because she did basically poison my animals. But I doubt anything will come from it because I have to prove ill intent, but they're pursuing her for criminal trespass. She's a Karen. I think she deserves it for thinking she had any right to be on my property at all, and especially because it's killed my pets. And now I don't know what to do about my lawn because I'm not risking another animal's life by letting them out, at least unsupervised for at least a year. However, my parents and my girlfriend think I'm being unnecessarily cruel because it was an accident and she thought she was just being a good neighbor, and I'm making it to be a bigger deal than it is, and should just ask her to pay for my vet bills. Edit. Info she asked me about the weeds before. I don't remember it verbatim, but basically the conversation was along the lines of, she said, "Hey, I see you have a lot of dandelions and weeds. Have you noticed that too?" OP said, "Yep, I enjoy the look of a natural lawn." She said something about my new car. The end. Since she has a kid that she always asks can come over to play with my rabbits, I assume she knew they ate them if she was looking over my fence that often. She had noticed the dandelions were only ever flowering in a quarter of the lawn at the time because my rabbits got cycled in a way that most of the lawn was mostly weed free, while the part they couldn't get to that week would be sprouting. Edit again for the messaging guys. I'm taking the advice and getting security cameras and a padlock for the fence, and also I am in fact getting a necropsy done. Edits, I have talked to her, told her that my rabbits died after the fact and there was staining on their pen. She said it's weedicide, not pesticide. They were probably just sick. Last edit is blowing up too much, I gotta walk away. Sorry if I didn't answer your question, but my rabbits were actually outside when she did this, and there was a stain on their pen. I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure they got a direct spray. Now we do have an update in a moment, but firstly I just want to say I'm incredibly sorry for the loss of your rabbits. But I'm just going to read this comment from Rivka, which really summed up my thoughts on it as well. It says, "Not the arsehole," in quotes, "was an accident and she thought she was being a good neighbor," and then says, "Spraying substances on other people's property without their permission is not being a good neighbor by any stretch of reason. I'm so sorry about your rabbits." The OP came in with a update and says, "I got a call from my vet on Monday morning. Necropsy is back. My rabbits died from corrosion to several internal organs and had corrosive burns lining their mouth and nose. My 3rd rabbit can also come home today and only has minor injuries to his throat and a small injury resulting in superficial hair loss and mild irritation on his nose. He'll be on pain meds and just in case, have critical care ready. For those without rabbits, when rabbits are in pain and sometimes in mourning, they sometimes refuse to eat, so critical care is basically a mixed powder you can syringe feed to keep their digestive system functioning, because GI stasis can be life-threatening. Also, I've contacted a lawyer to move forward with a lawsuit, because they haven't responded. Probably won't until later today, because I contacted them yesterday through mail. And for the lawn and garden people from my last post, the vet thinks the stuff the neighbor used wasn't commercial herbicide because those chemical burns, as well as because it killed my crabapple tree, and the bit near my fence and pool a bear. Please in the future, avoid messaging me for updates. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go.